Hello, this is my video on namespaces and the standard template library in C++. I felt that the video that I used to have, or I guess it's still on the channel, of namespaces, STL, and templates was a bit dense. It covered a lot of topics, so I'm splitting it into one video on templates. In this video, that's just going to focus on namespaces and the template library. So without further ado, let's get into our exercises, starting with define an adventurer class inside a kingdom namespace that has a name and a desired item. In another file, create a fantasy shops namespace inside kingdom. Define an order queue class in this namespace that adds adventurers to a standard queue. So this queue comes from the standard template library, and it allows us to implement a queue, so just like a lineup of people. And I think the goal here is going to be our little shop should have a queue of adventurers. So let's get started. So I already have a make file that's just going to make main.cpp, but probably I will change this over time. Let's get a main.cpp. It's probably important. So here's our goal. And so I'm going to have an adventurer class inside a kingdom namespace. So let's start with that. We'll need to include said file, which will be adventurer.cpp. Another file is going to need to have our order queue, so include order queue.cpp. Okay. Probably I should split things into headers and CPP files, but I'll just keep them as CPPs for brevity, but it's not a bad idea to split them up properly. So let's start with our adventurer. So adventure.cpp, and we're also going to need order queue. Okay, so our adventurer class needs to be inside a kingdom namespace and have a name and a desired item, which we'll just represent as a string. So our namespace is, and you notice here it bolds because it's a special keyword, is going to be called kingdom. And inside here, I'm going to have my class called adventurer. Adventurer needs to have a string name and a string desired item, probably a constructor, which we'll call adventurer, given a name and a desired item. We'll assign those appropriately, name, desired item. And just so I can see everything, let's do a display function that will simply print out adventurer name wants desired item. Yep, that looks fine to me. So now I have my adventurers in my kingdom. Before I go any further, let's make sure that I can use them. So I should be able to create an adventure. Now to create an adventure, I can't just say adventurer, adventurer A1, because I don't have a constructor that takes no parameters. I need to give it a name. So this, let's say that our adventure is going to be Frodo. Want some lembas. Okay, and then A1.display. Now, if I do this, I'm going to get an error. Let's go see what the error says. Probably I can add these to my make file, adventure.cpp. Make run. So first of all, I missed to specify for ENDL, but the other issue is adventure was not declared in this scope. Do you mean kingdom adventure? So I need to specify this. This isn't just any adventure from anywhere. It's one who is from the kingdom. So when I declare my adventure, I need to say this is from the kingdom namespace. And over here, I missed a double colon. And there we go. Adventure Frodo wants some lembas. So everything doing okay so far. Now let's get our order queue. So our order queue needs to be in two namespaces. It says fantasy shops inside of kingdom, and order queue class is in it, and it's going to add adventurers to a queue. So here I have my now, if it's going to add adventurers to a queue, I probably need to include adventure.cpp, which means I need to say pragma once, and I include adventure.cpp, and I'm going to have a namespace kingdom, and inside my kingdom namespace I will have a namespace fantasy shops. Okay, and now here I will make my order queue. And my order queue is going to have a queue, which I believe comes from the queue library. I guess I can double check, but I'm pretty sure I need to include queue. Some sample code here. Yeah, so include queue. Much like a vector, a queue needs to specify a type. So here we're looking for adventurers. And we're going to push some adventurers inside, pop them, and so on. And it's going to work just like a lineup at any restaurant. So I need to include queue. And now I can have a standard queue of adventurers. Probably I want to have adventurer pointers because I think the queue is not supposed to be responsible for maintaining the memory of each adventurer. We'll call this a lineup. And for this, I'll do another display function, which will be public. I suppose I need to be able to add people, so I also should do add adventurer, given a pointer to an adventurer. And the code here is just lineup dot, is it push? Push, yes. Push my adventure to the lineup. And for display, we will say, I believe, can I use a range-based for loop for this? Queue does not support begin and end, so a range for loop cannot be used. So I can, however, use the size of the queue. So for I is 0, I is less than the lineup size. And we can say lineup at I, this will be a pointer to an adventure, and I can call their display method. So if I've done this correctly, I should now be able to create an order queue, put some adventurers in it, and display all of them. So over here, let's make a second adventurer. We'll make this one A2, which will be Sam. Next, potatoes. And now I'll make my order queue, which comes from kingdom, fantasy shops, order queue. We'll call this orders. This doesn't take a, this is no constructor. Orders.add adventurer. We'll add the address of Frodo, add the address of Sam, and we'll display our orders and see if this works. Clear, make run. What did I mess up? Oh, so I can't index them, it looks like. Is that true? So if that's the case, probably I'm just going to want to, rather than doing a display function for my queue, we'll just do serve, and instead of displaying each person in the lineup, we will pop each of them off and display them. So my queue has my lineup of people, and based on the sample code here, this is what I'm using as a reference. So pop will remove things, but I want to know what is actually at the front. So for that, I need to use something like this. And so my queue here is called lineup. So while my lineup is not empty, I will continually remove people from it, and I will say who is at the front of the lineup. So instead of saying at the front, so this is going to give me the pointer. So from here, I should be able to display, actually. So I don't want to do C out. I just want to display them. Okay, let's try this out. Make run. Oops. Finish some order queue. Oh no, it's not orders. Oh, it's make clean, clear, make run. Where is this in? Order queue, main.cpp. Oh yeah, so it's not orders.display, it's now orders.serve. That's why. Clear, make run. A little bit of a caution here, but I think that's okay. Yep. Frodo wants lembas, Sam wants potatoes. I assume can I remove that pragma once? Is that okay? Is it not a problem for now? Yeah, no. That's actually quite necessary. The reason it's complaining, by the way, is because my makefile is building everything when it shouldn't actually do that. It should really just be building main, but that's okay. All right, we got everything going. That's the first part of our exercise, and we'll continue to the next one. Okay, part 2. Add a print banner function to the Kingdom and Fantasy Shop namespaces. Make each one print something different. Create an alias for adventurers in your main function, then use the using directive to reference Fantasy Shops. So one part at a time. Let's start with our add banner. So I'm going to close everything, copy everything into a new folder, part 2. And let's start with our banner. So we'll call this banner.cpp. So inside of here, we similarly need Kingdom, Fantasy Shops, and IO stream, because I'm going to be printing. And now I'm going to have 2 functions called print banner. So print banner, and this one can output welcome to Gondor. Let's duplicate this length. And in here, I can have smaller banner that says, good old shop. And now in my main, I will include banner, and I can call each of these, but in order to call each one, I need to call them differently. So Kingdom print banner will print one thing, and Kingdom Fantasy Shops print banner will print something else. So let's see that in action. Make run. So now I got Welcome to Gondor and Good Old Shop, and they are separate from one another. Even though they both are called print banner, because they're in separate namespaces, I can refer to them differently. Now, in the exercise, it's asking to create an alias for adventurers in my main function and use the using directive to reference Fantasy Shops. So let's try both of these things, starting with a alias for adventure. So right now, I'm calling everything Kingdom Adventure all the time, but instead I can say using, let's call it, say, hero equals Kingdom Adventure. And now every time Kingdom Adventure comes up, I can actually just call it a hero. Everything still works the exact same way. But the nice part now is I don't have to have this giant wall of text every time I need to refer to an adventurer. I also can, if I want to, say that I'm actually using a namespace. So using namespace Kingdom Fantasy Shops. Just like that. And what that means is that I don't have to write this anymore. Now it's dangerous because it means that if I have to print banner, it's not really clear which banner will be printed. But let's see what this looks like. So it prints out Good Old Shop twice, because when I call print banner here, now that I'm using this namespace, it's automatically assumed that any print banner that shows up will be inside. But it means if I do using namespace Kingdom, C++ is going to get upset. Now it is ambiguous. Which print banner am I referring to? If I'm trying to use more than one namespace at a time, which is what's happening here, print banner suddenly becomes unclear. Do I mean the one from Kingdom or the one from Fantasy Shops? So this is why generally you should not use this namespace. Use a namespace. It can cause all kinds of potential issues, but I just wanted to do it here as a demonstration. So I think that wraps it up. We used the using directive to reference Fantasy Shops, we made an alias for adventurers, and we made 2 print banners. Check. Moving on to the next one. Number 3, add an inventory class to Fantasy Shops that has a map of strings and quantities. And we'll make a Fantasy Shops logic file that has functions to populate an order queue with a preset list of adventures and an inventory with a list of items and quantities. So let's do our inventory first. Once again, close everything, copy it all over, and we'll make an inventory. Oops. So my inventory needs to include map. Map is like the Python dictionary. And for us, it is going to link our strings, which are items, and quantities, which are how many we have. It's going to be in Fantasy Shops, so that means I need to say, I think I might need IOStream as well. So namespace, kingdom, I guess I can copy this from banner, right? Get rid of the banner stuff. And here is class inventory. And I'm going to have a map that maps from strings to integers called items. And so now every element of this, if I want to iterate through with a range for loop, is a pair of strings and ints. So publicly, I want to be able to add void add item, or I suppose add item given a string name and an int quantity. And for this, I can say items of name equals quantity. Now, probably you want to have some extra security in here, double check that the name doesn't already exist, but we'll assume everything is working perfectly here, which means that if I don't already have an item inside of my inventory, I can add it, and now when I reference items, I give it the name, and it will return to me the quantity. So I want to display the inventory. I can say for, and here this is a pair of strings and integers, item in items. So first I'll output inventory contents, and then here I'll output name colon item dot first, comma quantity colon item dot second. So first and second are attributes of the pair from the standard template library. And it means I can have sort of a tuple. Like in Python, you have tuples. So in C++, we have pairs, but you have to specify exactly what the type is of these things. So let's build an inventory and put a couple things in it to make sure we're doing okay so far. So I will include inventory. No, inventory is in Fantasy Shops, so I should be able to just make a new inventory here. I can say inv dot, what's our method called? Add item. Oops. Add item. Let's say sword to ring 1 display. Let's see if that works. Make run. All right, 1 ring, 2 swords. So the nice thing about this is that I can put in anything I want. I only need to know what the name is to get the to match to the quantity, which allows us to do all kinds of different stuff with this. But for now, I've made my inventory. And the next thing I need to do is make my Fantasy Shops logic file, and it's going to be able to populate order queues with adventurers, and an inventory with items and quantities. So, because right now I'm doing all this stuff in main, it's getting messy. So let's make Fantasy Shops logic.cpp. For this to work, it needs to know what adventurers are, and it needs to know order queues, and it needs to know inventories. I might need some pragmas around here because I presume there's going to be some include conflicts if I don't do that. Include there. I think adventure already has one, so it should be okay. Adventure order queue with a capital Q. Inventory. Probably IOStream should come with one of those, so that should be already covered. And now this is going to have some functions. First, populate an order queue. Probably I should put this in the same namespace. So where's my namespace? Because order queue is in fantasy shops as well. So we'll call this populate order queue given a order queue OQ. And right now in our main function we do this. We add some adventurers to it. So instead I need to create some adventurers. I need to add them to our orders, and then I can serve them over here. So let's go in my order queue. I need to add adventures. Let's add 3. 3 seems like a good number. But instead of referring to some that I've created, we're just going to make some new ones right now. So we'll make a new adventurer. Now, adventure comes, sorry, this isn't orders either, it's OQ. Adventure comes from fantasy shops, so it's kingdom, and probably here is where I can, or not from fantasy shops, from kingdom. I can say using, where did I put it down here? Hero is kingdom adventure. New hero, Frodo, and Frodo was, what was it, Lembas? So let's do this 3 times. Frodo, Sam, Gandalf, potatoes, pipe. So now my order queue has 3 new adventurers in it. And so back in my original file, I can include fantasy shops logic.cpp. And for my orders, I can simply, and here I should, by the way, pass it as a reference because I want to modify this queue. Let's populate it. So populate order queue, given orders. We'll get rid of the inventory stuff for now, but I will be checking that after, and I don't need this anymore either. Let's see if this works. Make run. Okay, we got Frodo, Sam, and Gandalf are all there. Now, something you may not have seen before is inside here. Remember that I'm passing a pointer, and the new keyword gives me new allocated memory dynamically and returns a pointer to it. So this whole selection here will give me the pointer I want. I have to be very careful because my order queue now is the only way by which I can actually delete these heroes if that's something that matters to me. So be very careful about where you're allocating the memory, because right now the only way to get rid of these heroes is to go through orders, go into its queue, and delete them from there, which can be quite tricky potentially. So just a little thing to be wary of. In fantasy shops here, I have my populate order queue, and I also want to have populate inventory. Also given it an inventory. Now I think I'm not even sure I needed to call it hero. Let me see what happens. If I give it adventure, does this still work? I'm actually not sure. Let me check something real quick. Delete this for now. Do you know what an adventure is? Make clean, make run. Yeah, okay. So something nice is I don't have to actually go through using the alias for hero for this because I'm already inside of the kingdom namespace, so I already know what an adventure is. I can use that for my inventory as well. Let's close inv. And now my inventory adds things using add item given a string and a quantity. So let's add some stuff. inv.add item. and I need a string. So one example was sword and 2. Ring and 1. Staff, say 3. And pipe, maybe 10. So now I populate my inventory. So I can simply call populate inventory and run it. And let's see, will I get my items? I do, there they are. So we're helping to shorten our main function more and more, which is nice. You don't want a main function that has too many lines of code in it, so now I can get rid of all of the testing code that was there and just rely on my Fantasy Shops logic file to populate the default classes. So should wrap up our function. Our exercise. Our class is good. Our shops logic has 2 functions, and so we can move on to the final task. So exercise 4, add a menu member variable to your inventory that is a set of the items in the map. Make a nested namespace inside Fantasy Shops called utils that includes functions to see if an inventory has an item, which has the highest quantity, and computes the total quantity of all items. So first things first is let's add a member variable to inventory that is a set of the items in the map. So we can do this pretty easily, I think. First, again, we'll close it all, do a quick clean, and take all this over to exercise 4. Okay, now in my inventory, I'm using map, but there is also a structure called set. And set will simply be a list of all of the things that are there. Now, I need to have a set of, in this case, string, which is the item names. And now when I add a new item here, I can add it to the set as well. So let's check how the set container works. So here's some sample code. Here is a set. It only has one type because it's just one type of thing, and it's a list of the things that are there in no particular order, and it should have no duplicates. So contains, I think, is a new function, which is only for C++ 20, newer than we have. We'll be stuck using the find function instead. Now, to add to a set, I need to use .insert. But the reason I want to do this is that it'll actually let me know if something is inside of my map or not. So first of all, let's check to see if the item names has it already. For this, I need to use find. Where is it? Find, which looks something like this. So for a set called example, you can use a .find of an element, and if the result is equal to an iterator to the end of the set, you did not find it. So in our situation, that means if, so our set is called item names .find the name. If it is not equal to item names .end, yes, .end, yeah. Then add it to our map and also item names .insert the name. Otherwise, I already have this item in my inventory. So I will say item already present, adding quantities. And oops, it's still a semicolon. And then I can say items name plus equals quantity instead of adding it as a new entry. So to test this out, let's try in our Fantasy Shops logic adding pipe 3 times. Make run. Now, it looks like it did it a bunch of times, more than I expected. I did get the right number. Why did I print it 6 times? It's a bit odd. Check my main. Well, I don't know, but in any case, now I'm able to make. Oh, I think I know what it is. It's it added it for everything, didn't it? Like if I do this, then that's make run. Yeah, so that's not what I wanted. Probably. So my set initially has nothing. Find. Oh, sorry. If it's not equal, then I. Yes, I have it. It's not equal, but should be double is equal. There we go. Mixed up my Boolean logic a little bit. Okay, so let's put these back in here. Oops, wrong spot. In Fantasy Shops logic. There we go. Make clean, make run. There we go. Now we see item already present twice, so we add the quantities instead. I'm surprised it's actually giving me 30, but sometimes the map can do some unexpected things. But in this case, what I wanted to know is when I'm adding stuff to my map, is it there already or not? And the cleanest way to do this is actually to use a set, because a set's only purpose is to have a unique element for each thing in it. So the set of items in my inventory is pipe, ring, staff, and sword. And my inventory map is responsible for figuring out how many of these things I have. So that was the first part, which is our set. Now we're going to make a nested namespace in Fantasy Shops called utils that has functions to see some stuff. I think for this, let's put it in our Fantasy Shops logic file. We'll make a utils with these methods. So grabbing all this, putting it into Fantasy Shops logic. So in here we'll have a namespace utils. And here's what we have to do. So we need one function for Boolean has item given an inventory. This inventory is not going to change, so I can pass it as a constant reference. And this we can actually simply do, well, I guess for this, to know if the inventory has an item, it's present in the set, which means I need a public method here that will give me the set. So get set, return item names. And I want to see if it equals dot end. So yeah, set of strings item names equals in dot get set, was it? Yeah, get set. So I'll get the set and simply return if item names dot find target is equal to end. That means, or sorry, not equal. If it's not equal to the end, that means it's there. I need my target. So if this works, then I should be able to call has item from utils and see if it's present. So in my main, I populate my inventory. It does have a ring in it for sure. So let's do utils has item inventory pipe and then shoe. I guess we can turn these into some print statements. So output the inventory how about, let's see, pipe is actually, let's get some strings. String item 1 equals pipe. Item 2 equals shoe. Output item 1 is ternary operator. Does it have it? If so, then nothing. Otherwise, I'll say not. Closing parenthesis in the inventory. /n. And sorry, this shouldn't be pipe, this should be item 1. And I'm just doing that so I can copy it the second time a little easier and just write item 2. Okay, let's see if these things are in the inventory. Make and run. Oh, what I mess up here? Passing inventory as this discards qualifiers. So in has item, I suppose I don't have to pass it by reference. I guess it's not necessary. Oops, still doesn't like it. So get set. Let me see here. And this is in and get set. Return item names is a set. Yeah. Okay, so let's not pass it as a constant then. Can I do that? Pass it as just a reference? How's that? Clear, make clean, make run. Okay, we got some spaces that need to be fixed a bit, so let me correct that. Inside of here, I think this space should not be here. Yeah, just clearing a few spaces up. Clear, make run. Let's go. There we go. Pipe is in the inventory, shoe is not. Okay, so we're doing good so far. Let's go to, oh, I see. So the error we had was because we're calling get set, which it didn't say was a constant. So actually I can make this a constant if I make get set also constant, yeah? Like this, does that work? Are you happy about that? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Gotta be very careful about the use of the constant keyword. Okay, so that's an aside. We also want to do which item has the highest quantity. So and that's gonna be a string, highest quantity, given a inventory. And for this one, I probably need to be able to get the map of the items. So let's do this again, but we'll get the map. So get map, return items, and then in my logic, my map, which is of this type, is equal to inv.getMap. So now I have the map, and then I can say for, and here I have a bunch of pairs. Sorry, call items. For everything in here, so now I need to keep track of what's the largest. So quantity equals 0, highest quantity. We'll just call highest equals 0 if item.second is greater than highest. And then here we'll also need to have the name. Highest, then highest equals item.second, and the name is item.first. And when we're finished, we can return the name. Okay, so let's see what's the highest quantity. It's probably our pipe. Inside. Highest quantity item is utils highest quantity given this. All right, we have the highest quantity. Oh, made a mistake here. Oh, is it? Not, I didn't call it items, did it? It was. I know I did. Oh, it's a map of strings to ints. That's why. Clear, make clean, make run. Ooh, now what? Run number of arguments. Yep, because get map is supposed to return a map of strings to ints. Make clean, make clear, make run. Highest quantity is pipe. Yeah, that makes sense. And I suppose if I change that, it will update as well. But we have one last to do, which is total quantity of all items. So it's going to be similar to our highest quantity, which is total quantity, which will be an integer given our map. We get it. Sum is 0. We don't need any names. We do have to iterate through, and we are simply going to increment our sum plus equals item second and return the sum. Called total quantity. The total quantity of items is total quantity. Clear, make clean, make run, and the total quantity is 36. 30 plus 1 plus 3 plus 2. That looks right to me. So that's it. We wrapped up our namespaces. There's a few little tricks that we pulled along the way here, and the code is a little bit dense, so I encourage you to look through it, try modifying it. Some things that I want to add as a disclaimer: this is actually probably bad design to have a namespace called utils that has some of these functions in it. It might make more sense if you had inventory and order queue working with each other, but more likely these are functions that might actually belong better inside the inventory class itself. So the structure of this, definitely not ideal. I would recommend breaking this into header files as well, especially if this is going to be something that gets maintained over a period of time. But as just a demonstration, this has everything that works, which is good enough for us. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.